Hey guys, welcome to video lesson number 3 in Unit 4. Today we're going to be adding and subtracting inequalities. So if you have a calculator, take it out, and also be sure that you have your video outline in front of you. If you've lost your outline, take notes in your notebook. Okay, here is page 1. We're going to talk about the addition property of inequalities. So when you add the same number to each side of an inequality, the inequality remains true. So what does that mean? Well, if we have -4 is less than 3, that's still true if we add 2 to both sides. So if we add 2 to both sides, we get -4 plus 2 is -2, and 3 plus 2 is 5. -2 is still smaller than 5, just as -4 is smaller than 3. Okay. In subtraction, the same thing is true. When you subtract the same number from each side of an inequality, the inequality remains true. So what does that mean? If we start with -2 is less than 2, if I subtract 3 to both sides, -2 minus 3 is -5, and 2 minus 3 is -1. -5 is still smaller than -1. Okay, and these two properties, the addition property of inequality and the subtraction property of inequality, is also true for the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So here's example number 1. X minus 5 is less than -3. So what we're going to do is use the addition property of equality. So just like an equation, we want to isolate the variable. So the inverse of subtracting 5 would be add 5 to both sides. So we're using the addition property. All right, if this was an equation, it would be called the addition property of equality. But since it's not an equal sign and it's a less than sign, it's called an inequality. So here are my 0 pairs. So that leaves me with x is less than, and in your calculator, -3 plus 5 is 2. So the solution is x has to be less than 2. So now what you're going to do is you're going to graph your solution. So from every problem here on out, you're going to make your own number line. The easiest way to do this is just draw a line. The number that's in your solution that's given, put that right in the middle. Write one number smaller, one number that's larger. All right, so since it's less than, we're going to use an open circle. And less means we're going to go to the left. And that's my solution, that's my graph. Okay, and this is the picture I have here for you. Okay, you can draw your graph right on the number line like they do here, or you can do it above like I did. All right, here's example number 2. 13 is less than or equal to x plus 14. So what we're going to do is apply the subtraction property of equality. So I want to isolate my variable x. So what's happening to x? Well, we're adding 14. So what's the inverse of adding 14? And that's subtracting 14. So it's just like the equations. The only thing that's different is that you don't have an equal sign anymore. So use your 0 pair skill. So plus 14 minus 14 cancel, leaving you, it's very important that you leave the variable on the right side. So on the right side you have x, next to it you have less than or equal to, and in your calculator do 13 minus 14, you get -1. So from here it's really important, and we talked about this in an earlier video, that your variable x needs to be first. So I'm going to switch the -1 and the x. So I just flip them left side to right side. So if I flip those two, I have to flip my sign. Okay, and if you also read this note here, -1 less than or equal to x is the same as what I just wrote here. X is greater than or equal to -1. Okay? So therefore, the solution is x is greater than or equal to -1. Please graph your solution. So draw yourself a number line. Here's -1. Left of that is -2. Right of this is 0. All right, since the sign is greater than or equal to, I'm going to use a closed circle. Greater or equal. Greater means I'm going to fill my circle in. Well, the equal to part, we fill the circle in. The greater part means all the solutions at -1 or larger, which means to the right. Okay. So here are our last 3 examples for today. What you're going to do is exactly what the directions say. You're going to solve each inequality, and then you're going to graph each solution. All right, anything that's decimal or fractional, estimate as best as you can on the graph. Okay, I'm not looking for precise, but I am looking for you to be generally in the right spot on the number line. So pause now, try 4 through 6, and I'll go over all the solutions with you. So number 4, w minus 7 is less than or equal to -10. So what I want to do is isolate the variable. So the opposite of subtracting 7 is adding 7. So the addition property of inequality, these cancel, leaving me with w less than or equal to -3. Okay, my graph, here's -3, left is -4, right is -2. Okay, since it's less than or equal to, we're going to use a closed circle, and we're using closed because it's also equal to. Less than means we go to the left. Okay, so there's number 4. I'm going to erase this now, so if you still need it, pause now. All right, here's number 5. -7.5 is greater than or equal to d minus 10. Okay, so my goal is to isolate this variable. So we are subtracting 10 to d, so the inverse of subtracting 10 is adding 10. Okay, so remember, if you don't have a calculator, my signs are different. So I get 2.5 is greater than or equal to d, but I need to make sure that my variable is up front. So I'm going to flip-flop the solution, or the variable, and the solution. And if I do that, I'm just going to flip the inequality sign. Okay, and now I'm going to graph my solution. So here's 2.5, here's 3, here's 2. You could even do 2.5, 3.5, and below it here where I have 2, you can write 1.5. It doesn't really matter how you number it, just make sure it makes sense. Since it's less than or and equal to, I'm going to use a filled in circle. Less than means I'm going to go to the left. Okay, and there's my graph. If you still need number 5, pause now because I will be erasing this. Okay, and finally, here's number 6. X plus 3 over 4 is, is greater than 1 1/2. Okay, so my job or my goal is to isolate the variable, and I do that by using inverse operation. So we're adding 3/4 to x, so the inverse of adding 3/4 is subtracting 3/4. So what I do to one side, I do to the other. These are called zero pairs. So the These go to 0, leaving me with x is greater than. Plug this into your calculator, so you're going to hit the second button, the n over d button, do 1 1/2, then this is minus 3 over 4, and you get an answer of 3/4. We need to graph our solution. Here's 3/4. Here is, remember, 2 over 4 reduces to a half, so here's 1/2, and here's 1 whole. So since my sign is greater, I'm going to use an open circle. And again, since the sign is only greater, I'm going to point my arrow to the right. And there is number 6. Please jot any questions down and bring all of these notes with you to class tomorrow. Thank you.